I'm the commander for the American Legion Riders of Hastings, Oregon, and I'm also the adjutant for the Sons of the American Legion here at Post 34. We work in conjunction with the Panhandle Blocks Quilts of Valor Foundation to honor veterans such as the ones you're looking at right now. Now, if you are able, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Okay, now to honor these veterans, I would like all of the veterans in the audience to please come forward and stand out here in the center. If you're holding the flag, have somebody hold your flag for you. Once again, all veterans, I want you standing right out front here in the middle. Come on, Joe. Okay, we'd like to thank you guys, all 9 of you, for your service that you gave us and fighting to keep our freedom. Veterans, hand salute. 2. You may be seated. Okay, next I'd like to introduce Kathy Dye and her group of quilters from the Panhandle Blocks Quilts of Valor Foundation, and have her give the story of the Quilt of Valor and explain the different parts of the quilt and explain the process that we have to go through in order to become eligible to receive a Quilt of Valor.
Like he said, my name is Kathy, and some of our quilters are here as well today. We have Sheila and Noel over there in the corner, and they'll be manning the quilt table here in just a little bit. And Mary is over here. You can give a little wave. And then I always think I'll miss somebody that comes in later. So if I miss, my daughter Alyssa is here. Did I say that? She'll be doing pictures today. So if you're in a spot where you can't take pictures, and she's also putting on her iPad. If you want her to get that to you, catch her afterwards and give her your email address or your text, your phone number, and she'll get it to you. So that's who's here today to help. We have about 80 members in our group. We are throughout the Panhandle. We're the only Quilt of Valor group this side of North Platte, so we cover a lot of miles. It's always fun to come to Sheridan County. I think I tell you that every time we come. This county has a reputation of showing up. It has a reputation of producing veterans. I keep thinking we're getting there, and then we get another list of 9 or 10 or 15. This community, I think West Nebraska in general, has supplied a lot of military leadership. I think it's just the patriotism that exists in the hearts of those who reside out here. Our patriotism and our attitude to get it done. So it's always fun to come to Sheridan County. The Quilt of Valor started with a mission to make these handmade quilts and present them to veterans and sometimes active duty service members to thank them for their service and their sacrifice. For those who've been touched by war and whatever that looks like. Of course, that would mean combat, but it doesn't always limit it to that. It can mean a lot of things, and we also understand and recognize that that's a very personal and private situation for each and every veteran, and we just truly honor that as well and appreciate that. It is always a blessing to get to do these, to make these, and the foundation itself started in 2003. when Catherine Roberts' son, Nate, was deployed to Iraq. And for those of you who have said goodbye to a loved one who's been deployed, you probably know a lot of what she was thinking and feeling. Not only did she worry about Nate and his buddies while they were going to be in Iraq, but she also knew that a lot of things can follow a young soldier, sailor, Marine, pilot, whatever branch they're in. It can follow them home and continue in their hearts and in their heads. And while there were a lot of things Catherine couldn't do, especially while Nate was overseas, there was something that she could do when he came home, and that was to make a quilt for him and for his buddies. So she made that first quilt. She grabbed a couple of friends. They made the very first quilt of valor. She was friends with the chaplain from the Walter Reed Hospital, so he got her foot in the door. And that was quilt number 1 in 2003. As of the end of May, 393,702 quilts have been presented and recorded with the foundation, which is also 300,093,702 thank yous that have been very individually and intentionally bestowed upon those who have served and sacrificed. And so I always say, while the numbers are fun and impressive, it's never about the numbers, it's about each one. Because it's one quilt, one heart, one veteran at a time. And so today it's about these 9. She knew that this would be, her vision would be that this would be something that would encompass all the branches, something that would eventually be presented in all states, and they have. And it's also grown. They've been presented in Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea. Though the majority are presented right here in the States. We have regulations that we follow. I had mentioned that those numbers are supposed to be reported. So just as these 9 gentlemen had to follow some rules and regulations, we quilters have to follow some as well that have to do with construction, labeling, presentation, and our final is that we get it recorded with the foundation, which I will get done. And then I like to say you can rest easy that when you take your first stamp into your quilt, it'll be official, it'll be 100% real deal and not a knockoff, okay? These are all going to be in the Panhandle, so you're all good to go. I mentioned that it's a nomination process, and the nominations for these 9 actually came in a variety of ways. Many of the nominators are right here in the room today, and some are far away. Martin has his nominators in Texas, so but we all want to make sure that Martin got a quilt, and so we're glad to be able to help do that as well. It's always a privilege when one of the things happens in Sheridan County is we have the Western Sandhills Riders who have linked arms and partnered with us to do these presentations, and the flag line is just the cherry on top when we do these. It makes for great pictures, but it also kind of heard from the veterans, touches their heart very much when they see that flag line show up and stand up and be here for them. And so to those Western Sandhills Riders, we thank you. Some are on their second flag line today. We had one in Hay Springs on the way over, so some are on their second line today, and we thank you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the afternoon is going to roll out with the ceremony, in that Casey will read your bio, and then we'll have you stand up. While he's doing that, Sheila and Noel will hold up your quilt. Casey will explain how your family can participate in wrapping you. I'll let Casey explain how he wants that done. But when you do that, they'll hold it up on a stage so you can get good pictures. But as you can tell, those 9 guys aren't going to be able to see any quilts that are held up on that stage. And so when you get your veteran's quilt, and I'll give it to here over here, we'd like to have you come down and stand in front just for a minute, hold it open so they can see it. Otherwise, they don't even know which one is theirs after you wrap it on. If they had a ticket in the lineup, they wouldn't even know which one was theirs. So we want to make sure they know what their quilt looks like. So that's our challenge and our encouragement for you, is to make sure they see it. And then you as the wrapper will fold it in half. I like to say generally hot dogs instead of hamburger buns, so it'll go around them. So the long way, fold it in half, and then just put it around the folders. I think that Nola and Sheila, anything else I need to tell on that part? They'll get it to you, so you don't have to go on the stage. I am going to ask the girls to hold up one quilt, so we can talk about the parts of the quilt before I turn it back over to Casey. So these are quilts of valor, not blankets. And if any of you know any quilters, you know there is a difference. A quilt is 3 layers that is sewn together. And so as they open it up here, you'll see the top layer with its different shapes and colors and designs. Those remind us of the different communities and individuals who are so grateful for your service. The center of the quilt is the batting. That's the part that you cannot see. It's the part that you're going to feel when you're up around you. That's the part that we want to be comforting and healing. And the back of the quilt is what gives the quilt its strength and its support. And it reminds us of the strength and the support of our veteran and the strength and the support of our country. And then they're held together by a whole bunch of stitches. We've got the stitches that hold all those pieces together on the top, the stitches that hold the 3 layers together that make it a quilt, the stitches that go around the outside to finish it. Usually it's 1 trip around by machine to attach that binding, and then depending on the quilter, it can be another trip around by hand with tiny little stitches, or it can be that can also be done by machine. And then they have a label. Oh, I should tell you, those stitches represent our thoughts, our gratitude, our appreciation. Now the label is what makes it a quilt of valor. Otherwise, you just have a pretty patriotic quilt. But by our guidelines and regulations, we have to have a label on there that clearly states it is a quilt of valor. And so we'll see different types of labels. They're not all the same, but they all have the same information. First of all, it states it is a quilt of valor. They'll have our recipient's name and today's date and location. It will have the names of the people who helped make the quilt. Sometimes one person does it all. We have some up there where several made it. We have a couple up there where one person did all the jobs. And then we have some where 2 or 3 people work together, the piecing, the binding, and the quilting. So that tells the story of the quilt. It has a veterans, most of them I think have the veterans branch, years of service, and their rank and discharge on there. And if there was room, they also will say presented today with Post 34 and within the Western Sandhills American Legion Riders, if there was room. So that's the story of the quilt up until today. From here on out, the story of the quilt becomes your story. And so with that, I will have Casey read those stories.
First veteran today, First Sergeant E.A. David K. Poena, United States Army, retired. Please rise. I think that's you, Dave. Okay, Dave done his basic training in Fort Ord, California, and was promoted to Private First Class E3. He then done his advanced training in Fort Rucker, Alabama, and attended 67 A-10 Basic Aircraft Repair School and was awarded the MOS 67 N-10 UH-1 Repairman rank. His duty stations include 71 to 72, Rock, Korea, promoted to Spec 4. 72 to 73, Fort Lewis, Washington. 73 to 76, Canal Zone, Panama, promoted to E5. 77 to 78, Rock, Korea. 78 to 83, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, promoted to E6. 83 to 86, Fort Hope, Louisiana. 86 to 91, Masons, Germany, promoted to Sergeant First Class E7. 91 to 94, Vicencia, Illinois, promoted to Master Sergeant First Class Sergeant E8. 95, Fort Shafter, Hawaii, retirement finalized. Total time in January 1971 to February 1995. Awards: Master Crew Member Wings, Army Commendation Medal, National Defense Medal, Good Conduct Medal, GE Marksmanship Award, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, and Operational Service Medal. Dave's quilt was pieced by Kathy Dye, quilted by Jody Muir, and bound by Kathy and Melissa Dye. Ladies and gentlemen, First Sergeant E8 retired David K. Poena. If anybody from the crowd wants to put Dave's quilt on, please come forward, or I can whistle just have a drill. And then after I kind of left that part out, but after I do the rest of the bios for the rest of these veterans, if anybody from the crowd wants to come forward and quote the quilt, please do so. Okay, next up, Corporal Troy Goings, E4, United States Marine Corps. Troy was attending college at WNCC in Scottsbluff when he was introduced to a Marine Corps recruiter. He joined the Marines in May of '97 and attended boot camp at Marine Corps Training Depot in San Diego, California. After boot camp, he trained at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri to be a 35-33 LBS operator in an 8-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle known as the Dragon Wagon. He was primarily stationed at Camp Pendleton, California, but he attended additional training at 29 Palms, California, and spent 2 summers building roads in Ketchikan, Alaska. He was stationed in Okinawa, Japan from September 2000 until April of 2001 and was honorably discharged. Troy was never deployed to a war zone, but he spent 4 years training and waiting for the call, and thankfully it never came. He gave serious consideration to making the Marines a career, but instead returned home to help build a family ranch. Troy is married to his wife Jackie. They have 3 children, Cage, Elijah, and Cy. He drives a school bus for the BIA in Pine Ridge and is working on a federal retirement. Troy and his family maintain a small ranch and stay very busy. Troy's quilt was pieced and bound by Mary Paulette and quilted by Linda Schneider. Ladies and gentlemen, E4 Corporal Troy Goings, United States Marine Corps. Okay, next up, Specialist E4, Martin Zephyr, United States Army. Martin served in the United States Army from September 1986 to March of '94. He enlisted as a 76Y unit specialist that jumped out of airplanes and helicopters. His duty stations include Fort Knox, Kentucky, Fort Lee, Virginia, Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Kasern, Germany, Bad Tolz, Germany, and Fort Lewis, Washington. While he was in Germany, he was assigned to the 1st of the 10th Special Forces Group and trained with the best from all over the world. The Berlin Brigade, the Army Rangers, Delta Force, Force Recon, German, French, Austrian, and English training military exercises were used on post and on deployment. His awards include Army Surplus Ribbon, Overseas Ribbon, Army Achievement Ribbon, Sharpshooter Marksmanship Ribbon on the M16 rifle, and Parachutist Badge. When Martin processed out of Germany at the end of Desert Storm, his unit was the first of the 10th Special Forces Group in Bad Tolz, Germany. He then went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and was with the 9th Finance Battalion, 1st ESTD from March of 1994. He then followed his wife around while she was in the military, going from active duty to spouse. Martin's quilt was pieced by Janet Clark, quilted by Linda Schneider, and bound by Ann Dunn. Ladies and gentlemen, United States Army Specialist, Special Forces, E4, Martin Zephyr. Airman Second Class Bob Elder, United States Air Force. Bob was in the United States Air Force from May of '62 until May of '66. He attended basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas and went to Radar Tech School at Kessler Air Force Base in Missouri. His permanent duty stations were 4629 Support Squadron Sage, Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, and 602nd AC&W Squadron Manual, and 412th in Giebelstadt, Germany. He was honorably discharged at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey and was awarded the AZC Air Force Good Conduct Medal. Bob's quilt was made by Jody Meir of Lakeside. Ladies and gentlemen, Airman Second Class Bob Elder. Specialist E4, Charles Caldwell. Charles Caldwell, White Lake, joined the United States Army March 1st, 1962. He attended basic training at Fort Hood, Texas. After basic, he went to Fort Leonard Wood in south central Missouri for AIT and became a combat engineer. Charles was sent to Germany where he joined the Company A, 547th Engineering Battalion, APO 175. He served as a truck driver and helped build bridges along the Rhine River. Charles was honorably discharged on July 1st, 1965. He was awarded the United States Army Good Conduct Medal. After his release, he served in the Army Reserves for 3 more years. Charles's quilt was made by Matt, Will, Chris, and Carol, and bound by Will. Ladies and gentlemen, Specialist E4, Charles William Caldwell.
Charles has some tiny little trucks in some of his fabric. They're tiny little trucks the kids put in there.
Specialist E5, Jeff Butler. Excuse me. Jeff joined the United States Army in May of 1989. He attended basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and also AIT school until November of 1989, finishing with Distinguished Honor Graduate on both sides. He then went to southern Germany and joined the Pershing Nuclear Missile Battalion until November of 1990. He then transferred to Aviation 3rd Armored Division in Hanau, Germany. In December of 1990, he was deployed to Iraq during Desert Storm and Desert Shield and Iraqi Freedom. He then returned to Hanoi, Germany in July of 1991 and was honorably discharged in May of '94 as a Specialist E4. 6 years later, Jeff would return to service in December of 2000. He joined the United States Navy and started as a Specialist E3. He went to training at Great Lakes Training Center in Illinois as an electrical tech and graduated Distinguished Honor Graduate again. He was then sent to the Pentagon and was assigned to Naval Communications Station, Washington Naval Yard. He arrived on September 11th. He spent his first 30 days performing funeral services for those that lost their lives on 9/11. He then ran the radio community for the Chief of Naval Operations. After serving at the Pentagon, he became a plank owner on the USS Hennessy, stationed in the San Diego Harbor until December of 2006. He was honorably discharged as a Specialist E5. His awards include over 30 medals, but these are just to name a few. Army Commendation Medal, the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal, the United States Army Good Conduct Medal, the Navy Good Conduct Medal, the United States Army Achievement Medal, ×3. Got something in my eye here. There we go. The United States Army Achievement Medal ×3. When the King of Saudi Arabia wanted to compensate the soldiers that were on the ground, it was a rule that in the United States soldier could not receive compensation for his duties, so all of the British soldiers received brand new Toyota pickups, and the United States soldiers received a medal, ordered by the King of Saudi Arabia, and contained 1 ounce of silver and 1 ounce of gold. Jeff's quilt was pieced and bound by Sheila Walker and quilted by Linda Schneider. Ladies and gentlemen, specialist E5, Jeff Butler. Okay, Specialist 4th Class Carl Johnson, United States Army. Carl joined the United States Army in September of 1969. He attended basic training at Fort Lewis, Washington, and AIT at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. He was then stationed in Stuttgart, Germany with the 15th Battalion as a military police vehicle mechanic. Carl was honorably discharged in April of 1971. Carl's quilt was made by Donna McKay of Hay Springs. Ladies and gentlemen, Specialist 4th Class Carl Johnson, United States Army. Corporal David Johnson, United States Marine Corps. David was in the United States Marine Corps from July 1998 to July of 2002. He was stationed at Quantico, Virginia. While in the Corps, he received the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, a Presidential Unit Citation, a Presidential Letter of Commendation, Rifle and Pistol Expert Badges, and he was a Special Reaction Team member and provided security for high-risk personnel. David's quilt was made by Don McKay of Hay Springs. Ladies and gentlemen, Corporal David Johnson, United States Marine Corps. Our last veteran, Senior Airman E4, John Landreth, United States Air Force. John joined the Air Force in 1982 and was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska, home of SAP, Strategic Air Command. The base was very well located in Strategic Command facility, being relatively centrally located in the continental United States, deep in U.S. airspace, and away from the largest populations and targets on the East Coast. John served primarily with the Looking Glass mission. Operation Looking Glass was a mission by the Strategic Air Command to provide command and control the United States nuclear forces in the case of a failure on the ground command center. The mission lasted almost 30 years, and with the related aircraft remaining in the air 24/7. They were able to launch missiles from Omaha. John was a member of the aircraft missiles maintenance team. He acted as a crew chief on the field. John was the first to touch the plane when it landed and the last to touch it before it took off. John said he would not trade his experience in the United States Air Force for anything. He feels he got the best job and worked with the best people, many becoming lifelong friends. John's tour of duty lasted from 1982 until 1990. John's quilt was made by Jody Meir of Lakeside. ladies and gentlemen, Senior Airman E4, John Lander. Okay, now, what we usually do in the program is we have some of our veterans that are eligible to receive a pin from the Vietnam era. I think we have 3. Kathy, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to have a couple young men from the crowd come out, and we have a Vietnam flag that they can
Yes.
hold up in front of the veterans.
I need to have Charlie and Bob and Carl. I'll have you stand. The commemoration, the purpose of the commemoration is to recognize those who served during the Vietnam era between 1955 and 1975. And so I believe you 3 veterans are the ones who fall into that category. Regardless of duty station, knowing that all of you who served during those 20 years did a job that was hard, probably harder than it had to be for a lot of you. We also know that you didn't get to self-determine where you went. So, but we know that when you came home, that you came home to a country that could not always separate or distinguish the war from the warrior. And so, frankly, a lot of you had a stinky welcome home. And we can't go back and do that over. But with the commemoration, partnering, as we partner with them, our mission and our purpose is to, starting today, do it better. And so for Charlie, Carl, and Bob, we want to thank you for that time that you served, and a time where maybe that appreciation and that thank you wasn't heard as loud and clear as it should have been. And so we have a flag that will have our 2 able-bodied people with good knees, which is what I look for. Not being the kind of girl that can get down on her knees. And we'll just have Charlie and Carl and Bob would stand up, and if I could have the 3 of you stand together for a minute. And so as Casey gives them these pins, this is what I'm going to tell you about the pin. I have a young man right here. Would you hold this for me? Yeah, would you? Go stand up there by that guy and hold it up. That's what the pin looks like. So we see an eagle to represent courage, honor, and the dedicated service to our nation. A blue circle, like the blue you see on the flag. We have the laurel wreath, like you see on a lot of military things that's also on the flag, that represents victory, integrity, and strength. The stripes behind the eagle are where do we see those? On our flag, right? We have the stars, and there are 6 stars that represent the 6 allies that served together during the Vietnam War. Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Republic of Korea, Thailand, and the United States. And on the back of the pin, not on the back of his little poster, on the back of the pin it says, "A grateful nation thanks and honors you." And so Casey is going to present that to each trusted veterans. And what they're getting is a page that just explains what all those pieces that are on the flag on the pin symbolize. So these are, anybody who served during that, they're eligible for those who were in active duty and are living veterans. We can't award these posthumously. And they're entitled to one, so that's what these gentlemen are getting. You're doing an awesome job holding that canvas. You didn't even get a practice, did you? I just drafted you. These guys could probably tell you about that too, huh? So anyway, I would like to just invite each one of you. They look like pretty friendly guys. I like to say that. Like a nice neighbor to have, maybe. A nice guy down the road. But I invite each one of you to look just a little deeper into each one of them. Look into their eyes, look into their hearts. Because in those chests beats the heart of a warrior, a defender, and a protector. And so it might be 50-some years overdue. With each one of you, we say thank you and we say welcome home. So we'll let our our flag holders put the flag back on the table, and our canvas holder can put the flag on the, or canvas on the table, we'll let Charlie, Bob, and Carl get back to their spots. Because this is what I want to remind you here loud and clear. We thank each one of you for your service and your sacrifice, for being willing to leave home, family, friends, all the things that you hold dear, that you were willing to leave them, to take the oath, to don the uniform, to do whatever was asked of you wherever it was asked. We thank you for that. We know that freedom isn't free, and we have the freedoms that we enjoy today because of you and men and women like you. We thank you for that as well. And we can't really say it any other way, but we hope you hear it loud and clear. And so these quilts are a thank you from your friends and your family and a grateful nation. We want you to use your quilts, and every time you use them, we want you to feel the love and appreciation that was someone has ever seen. Because I can promise you that's exactly what's there. And so in closing, on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation and the Grateful Nation, the Gordon Legion Post 34, the Western Sand Hills Riders Chapter 34, all your friends and family here today. Each and every one of you, we say thank you. And together we say,
Welcome home.